Howdy do, y'all. Tables here. A few revisions on the SRS kind of situation. Our fireball largely more or less the same. I decided to add wild shards for just some extra projectiles, just to kind of help us out. Added fire damage. I'm not sure if all of these are correct, so I'm just going to preface, this is not a build guide. This is more of a theory craft of what I want to be starting come Friday afternoon at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. And this is kind of where I'm at. I took a couple of suggestions from the comments and we swapped a few things around, i.e. moved Minion Mastery to our boy and Fire Mastery to our Raging Spirit, since it technically does have the fire tag. I know it says fire duration, but I'm assuming that the Fire Mastery will still work. I'm not going for a melee Raging Spirit. I'm going specifically for Minion instability. I'm hoping that Minion instability is more than 7%. 15 or 20 would be like kind of primo. But that's kind of what I'm going for with this build. Whether it works or not, time will tell. Pretty much same supports for our doggo. Somebody had mentioned limit. Who knows if limit's going to work? I know that the limit gem, like the limit support gem, says it specifically works with skills that have limits. So I don't know if that's going to pertain to the Hellhound. Like I said, we'll have to figure that out when launch comes. Paint offering, I removed a bunch of stuff right now. It's just more duration. I don't really know what else I want or can add here that's really going to be relevant. I still need to do a bit more research, but if y'all have any suggestions, please let me know. And flammability, like so far, our only spirit cost is Raging Spirits, and only one of our gems has a multiplier, which is our Infernal Legion. So we're still reasonable on spirit, more than reasonable actually, but our curse flammability is where it gets crazy. After watching Captain Lance and seeing some things in the comments, I think Blasphemy is kind of a no-brainer. It's gonna be good. I think it's actually gonna be good. So because it's a persistent buff, right, and it's always on, vitality should work, cannibalism should work, area of effect and heightened curse should all work. So that's kind of what I'm feeling right now. Now, we only have one multiplier for our spirit currently, but this has like a lot of, this one's a 200% multiplier. I think at a base level early game, Blasphemy, flammability, and then, add in as more spirit, essentially becomes available. Now, we will be using the scepter, the skeletal warrior scepter that gives us 100 spirit. I think that's a no-brainer. I think it's a must-have. Spirit is going to be one of the things that we're vying for the most, but I am slightly concerned that our spirit cost is going to be outrageous with this build. But we also don't know how much spirit we're going to have really have available to us in the end game. But I'm hoping that we can at least fill out some of these supports. Maybe AoE and heightened curse don't need to be there, but having cannibalism and vitality while this blasphemy curse is set up, always on, seems quite nice. And then we have like our utility set up, frost mages. Nothing too crazy. I think we went over this in the last video. Added cold damage, cold pen, 30% more freeze buildup, frost nexus for chilled ground, and just some generic cold scaling for our boys, little skelly boys. And this will just give us like an alt element to deal damage with. The skeletal warriors that we have, I don't know if we're going to end up running with this. This is just like a calling strike setup that I had going on. It is a lot of spirit to be able to use this. I don't know if it's going to be worth it. Or if we're even going to be able, to even run a calling strike setup with our skeletal warriors. Most likely it's going to move somewhere in here, as this is really more of a utility setup and an alt element setup. than anything else. So we may end up dipping on these skeletal warriors. And as far as Grim Feast goes, I like the idea of it, and it makes me want to go ES, like hardcore ES. But the only thing that I really think works super well with it is Essence Harvest. And this is kind of my thinking, right? Something dies in our presence. It drops a Grim Remnant. Picking up the Grim Remnant grants you an ES recovery, and you can overflow, blah, blah, blah. The tag says it is technically a minion. So if we pick it up, does it then die? And if we pick it up, do we then not get 50 mana? Because we're going to be running around picking these things up anyways, right? And so this just seems like a great source of mana regen. So that's kind of what, at least that's what my mind is thinking. That might be like insane levels of cope. But if that's the case, you know, we can move it up to Pain Offering, because that does technically count as a minion. And then every time we cast this, we just get mana back, and, you know, it essentially pays for itself, more or less. So this is kind of the setup I have right now. Keep in mind, like, all this stuff is going to cost a ton of spirit. I more or less got rid of the cast on Ignite setup. The only thing we're having to cast right now is Fireball, Pain Offering. Then that's it. And I think this is a good kind of baseline setup until we can get into the game and like really flesh, you know, some things out and learn what we can scale, what interactions are working, which ones did we think were working or actually not working. And yeah, so this is a bit of an updated kind of setup, and we'll figure out. I mean, I'm probably just going to run Pain Offering by itself with more duration for a while, and I'll probably figure this link out and Grim Feast out as I play the game. But as a whole, I think the Fireball, summoning the Raging Spirits with our Flammability as an aura, supported by Frost Mages, I think works pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's going to end up doing really well. I have very, very, very high hopes for Minion instability, but everything will come to fruition on Friday, and, you know, the rubber will meet the road, and we'll see where we land. So that's it. That's the little bit of an update I have to this. I don't know if I'll do another update, but I will leave a link to this. I'll share link, and I'll leave it in the description for you guys to tinker with. And that's it. I'll see you guys probably again before Friday. Be good. Take care of yourselves. Thanks for hanging out.